In one of the companies I was working for, there was this new person who joined the HR team. He was little senior than me, not very senior, but little senior than me in terms of designation, but we shared more or less same responsibilities. And then after a month or so of his joining, he happened to represent my work, my data to management, claiming that it is all done by him. So I was completely unaware about this situation, was not even present in the room when he was delivering that content. And then what happened was, in mid of the presentation when he was delivering, the HR head told him right on his face that this content seems to be done by Varsha very clearly and not by you. This statement of his shocked everyone in the room. While the senior tried saying everything possible to make things sounds or look little better, but eventually he had to admit that it was not his work and was actually done by Varsha. Wow. So how did that happen? Do that happen often? I don't think so. Did I tell anything about that content or data to the HR head? Absolutely no. I was not even aware that that senior would do this to me. So what do you think? How did that happen? How did the HR head came to know that it was not his work but was my work? It was actually my habit of representing the data in a certain way which saved my hard work that day in that room. Since college, I had this habit of representing the data in a certain way. I had my favorite formatting styles. Back then, I was not even aware about the importance of it or any change or impact it can have on my career, or it could save my work this way someday. I was not aware about all these things. I was merely doing it out of passion because I think I'm a very aesthetic person and I like my data, whether it is like 2-line data or it's like 200 lines data. I like to present in a certain way, whether it's Word or Excel or PowerPoint. And that day I didn't realize that my habit of representing the data in a certain way became a signature style of mine, which I was not aware of, but people recognizes it. People knew that if this data looks like this, then Varsha must have done this. How cool is that? Your data is speaking on behalf of yourself. Can you imagine the power of presentation? If there is any skill which is universal to all job profiles and has power to change the trajectory of your career, then it has to be the presentation skill. From the job interview meeting to boardroom meetings, how you present yourself and how you present the content, the data can make all the difference if you realize the importance of presentation skills. Anyways, there are numerous ways in which presentation can change your life, but today I'll be specifically talking about presentations where you deliver the content verbally. When you're presenting either PowerPoint presentation or you're presenting some kind of document, you have a printout and you're reading out of that and presenting some number or figure facts to the management, to the colleagues, or everybody all together. So no matter who's the audience, today you will learn how to make your presentations powerful and add your personality to those presentations, because that's everything. Your personality is everything to your presentations, because same content can be presented by several people, but what makes it unique is the personality, the person who's delivering it, the way he's delivering it. People or the audience listening to that presentation can tomorrow forget about the content, but they'll never forget the way you are doing it, that uniqueness, that personality of yours which shines out through that presentation. Welcome to Corporate Diaries. Welcome back, guys. So mainly there are 3 components in a presentation: how you start a presentation, how you end a presentation, and the mid flow of the presentation. All 3 segments need a different kind of treatment because you need to engage the audience little differently in all these 3 sections. We'll be discussing that in a while, but before that there are few points that need to be considered before we jump onto those tips and tricks. And number 1 is, people often mistake presentation as to be only Microsoft PPT presentation or presentation of some research paper. While these are just tools used to add to your presentation, it's not the hero of the presentation. I mean, your PPT cannot be the hero of your presentation. It can add to your presentation. The hero has to be you. So remember that whenever you are preparing for the presentation, you are the hero. Those are the tools which you are using to aid to your presentation, to make it look even better. Number 2, if you're using a PowerPoint slide presentation, make sure that you don't put everything on the slides. Those slides should be used as teasers, so that when people look at something, look at some image in that slide, they should be curious to know what it is, and then they look up to you. They are waiting to hear you, that what will you say in context of that image or visual, what is there, what is present in that slide. So make sure that you don't put everything on the slide. Third point is, whenever you are dealing with numbers, whenever you are presenting numbers or percentages or something to deal with figures and facts on the screen, be very careful what you say and what you represent. You have to make sure that whatever percentage or number you are displaying, you have the source of that data ready, because otherwise you land in trouble, especially the presentations which you are showcasing to senior management or even to your manager. When speaking numbers, have the data ready with you in the background to answer the question or to back that data. Even the statement as simple as that 80% of people often choose product A in the market. How do you know that 80% of people? How much data you have gathered, or what is the number of respondents that you have chosen to get answer of that question from? So you have to be very careful, and if you want to be on a safer side for such simple statements, rather say most of the people choose option B. That's kind of safer statement than saying 80% of the people chose option B, because then you are bound to prove that 80%, how you arrived at the 80% number. So that's very important point. Okay, so keeping all these 3 points in mind, now let's talk about how you can make your presentations really powerful. And the number 1 factor is how you start the presentation, because when you are starting a presentation, your audience is the most attentive audience you will ever get. First 5 minutes, when you first go and stand there next to the podium or on the stage, everybody is looking at you consciously. They are present there and they're looking forward to hear something from you. So those 5 minutes, or I'll say 2-3 minutes, are really crucial and are really golden minutes, and you don't want to miss on those minutes. And here are some amazing tips that you can use to engage your audience in those golden minutes. And the number 1 is, start by telling a story. Story can be purely business, it can be a healthy mix of your personal life and your business experience, or it can be totally personal as well, provided it somehow land up to the context which you are going to present. And if you're sharing a personal story, nothing like it, because audience relate to you most when you start sharing your personal experiences. For example, I'm doing this video, I'm doing this as a kind of presentation. So how I started with a personal success story which I had with the subject, which I had with the power of presentation. The reason why personal success story always work or engage the audience most is because they are so unique and relatable at the same time. Otherwise, if you Google out some stories or experiences of some other people and you share that, it will not have that much impact. Number 1, it will not be very unique. It will be some kind of repetitive story, or people have already heard it several times. Plus, it will lack that depth. You'll not have that much knowledge because it's a superficial story that you heard from somewhere and you are kind of copy pasting it in your presentation. So you don't have that depth, that emotional attachment with the story. So when you deliver it, it's very much evident from your tone or from your body language. People can gauge that, and if it is not real, they get turned off really quickly. But if you don't have any relevant success story or any relevant experience to share with your audience, don't worry, I got you covered. Here are some tips. You can start sharing your thoughts on similar lines like, what made you choose this topic? And if it was a pre-assigned topic, what came to your mind when you first heard about that topic, when you first received that presentation requests, hurdles or challenges that you faced while you were preparing for that presentation, and when your manager told you that you're supposed to do this presentation, how his face looked exactly like your professor's face, because he used to give you those kind of assignments and there was a way you could skip those assignments in college, but you are thinking how to skip this one. So facts like these, experiences like this, something relatable, something fun, which you know that a lot of people feel or relate to, but they're scared to share that in public, because people love to hear things which they are not able to say or which they are not able to express. Then they are like, oh yeah, he's so right, I also feel that way. So that gives them a kick, that makes them really attentive to listen to you, because they connect at that point. And another thing that you can do is adding a fun element to a presentation. You can add a snip or kind of teaser, few seconds teaser, few seconds to a 1 minute teaser, some kind of video. For example, I did one for one of my videos and I think it is the most viewed video on my channel. So check it out if you haven't checked it already. The initial 20-30 seconds I have placed a movie's teaser there. It is a fun element, but it is not a random thing. It's going with the subject. It's going with the content idea or the topic that I'm delivering. So you have to keep that in mind. You can place a fun element, but it has to be in line with the subject. It has to slowly merge with the subject. So when you start with something this much fun, people feel engaged in your stories, on your presentation, and you feel peaceful, and then butterflies in your stomach will take rest, and you will also be able to deliver with utmost confidence and comfort. So that was for how you start a presentation. Now coming to the mid flow of the presentation. If a presentation is more than 5 to 10 minutes, people tends to drift away, their attention starts to drift away. So you have to keep them really engaged, and for that what you can do is, number one, you can keep some quizzes or some guess game. Keep asking questions on regular intervals so that your audience is engaged, and make sure that you have some goodies with you, maybe as small as like a chocolate or something else that you can give to the person who will answer your question, who answers your question. And it is human nature, when we see somebody else treated specially, maybe with the chocolate or something else, everybody else also wants to participate. So that happens. That's kind of psychological fact with humans, so you can leverage on that. Keep asking questions, but make sure that you have something to reward them who answers the question. Number two, explain your content by taking example of people who are sitting in that room. Say if you want to put forward any example, and in that example you are using any random name, some John you are using, so instead of that, use name of somebody who's sitting in that room. This will automatically make that person feel very attentive, and he will listen to you, and others as well will be listening to you because they know that person and he's already sitting in that room, and for sure that person will react with a smile instantly. So this is also a killer idea to keep your audience engaged. Or you can even go ahead and share some success story of them. If you're aware about their success stories, include them. Nothing like it. They will absolutely love you for that. And number three, if your presentation is more than 20 to 30 minutes, I advise you to take breaks in between, because it's really difficult to keep people engaged for that long, and when people come back after the break, they are more attentive, more refreshed than they were before going to the break. And another thing that you can do during your presentation is keep mentioning name of the objects or things that are present in that room. This makes people feel attentive, and they will instantly look at that object, and their focus will be back into the room. If they were wandering somewhere else in their head, their attention will be back in the room again. So you can mention about the tea they are drinking, the water bottle the audience have been served on the table. Tell some fun facts about the presenter, how the light is falling on your face and you almost feel like on the red carpet. So something like that, something which is relatable, which they can see instantly in that room, which is present there in that room, because the whole idea is to get their attention from whatever place they are to the room where you are presenting. So that was for mid section. Now how you end a presentation, this is very important. You must have seen people who do great presentation, but towards the end you feel, okay, the presentation was great, we enjoyed it, but what's the point? I mean, what is the takeaway? What was he trying to say the whole 30 minutes or 20 minutes or 45 minutes? What's the takeaway? So you have to make sure that there is some conclusion to that presentation. Maybe as simple as your opinion about that thing, that in the end you say, so I think this is the best thing to do regarding this subject. So end with a tangible result, some conclusions or some opinion or some motivational takeaway, but there has to be a takeaway in the end. And number 2 is always try to take question and answers towards the end of the video. And if nobody is asking any question, then you must be ready with at least one question. That should be a tricky one, and you should ask that question to audience to even check their engagement, whether they were listening to it attentively or not. As we added in the beginning of our presentation, we can also add a fun element at the end of our presentation. So this will end everything on a very lighter note, and people will leave the room laughing. And when you end like that, people tend to remember the presentation for longer than the normal presentation. So guys, these were my tips on making your presentations really engaging and powerful. Try doing it your way than doing it some copy paste kind of way, because that will add that uniqueness and that will add your true personality to the presentations. Try these tips in your next presentation and do let me know how did they work for you all. I hope you learned something new today, and if you did, make sure that you hit that like button so that the content reaches more people and more people like you can benefit from it. You keep on watching more content on this channel, and I'll see you in my next video. Till then, stay safe and healthy. Take care. Bye.